So I've gone ahead and turned on the recorder, and I just want to invite everybody to take a deep breath and just arrive fully to this glorious practice today. Just an extra warm welcome to anybody joining the Spokane Sangha for the very first time, for anybody who is new to Buddhist recovery and Buddhism in general. One of the things that I'd like to say about this is it is a practice. Buddhism is often misinterpreted and misrepresented as a religion, and there are cultural aspects to Buddhism that definitely are. I don't want to say it's untrue to call it a religion. It is, when you look at it from a cultural point of view. But when you look at Buddhism from a spiritual point of view, it is a practice. So you can have your own religion and still benefit greatly from the practices found within Buddhism. And one of the practices are the teachings of the Buddha. They are called sutras. And for the month of February, we have been exploring the Lotus Sutra. And this is an ancient sutra, and it is all about looking at who we are in this physical form as a connection to who we have been as part of the legacy of our parents and grandparents and so on since beginningless time. And that's often not something we take the time to consider. And that's one of the reasons why the Buddha chose to talk about it, and teachers for the last couple thousand years have continued to talk about it, is when we get mired in our own discomfort, in our own distortions, in the details of our own lives, we forget that we are part of a great divine mysterious unfolding that has been going on since beginningless time. And so, in other words, we can get very micro, very, very myopic in our scope. And so it's important that we open up a little bit and begin to see the bigger, more expansive picture and how we are a part of that. That can do a couple of things for our psyche in terms of cultivating humility. It can remind us of our insignificance, which can be a little like, well, I was already feeling kind of low. And now, Julia, you're telling me how insignificant I am. That's just like a heavy hand on me. And it also reminds us, that's true, and it also reminds us of a greater truth, that even though we may be insignificant, we are part of something very rare. To be alive is to be part of a miracle. It is a wonder to be here and to be able to practice. We are consciousness that can explore consciousness. Amazing, amazing. So we're going to bring that into our practice today. And I invite you to close your eyes if you'd like to. I invite you to lie down if you'd like to. We're at our computers today, so what I invite you to do is maybe turn your body away from the computer. Kind of sideline it a little bit. Maybe even look out a window if you want to. Just something to break this connection a little bit and really invite us to come right into the practice of you, the practice of your wise mind, the practice of your compassionate heart. This week we have been reviewing a story about the immersion of bodhisattvas. Bodhisattvas in the cultural Buddhist tradition are awakened human beings. And upon their death, they make a choice to delay nirvana, delay the full enlightened existence of consciousness, and to come back to this life, to this cycle of suffering, birth, pain, discomfort, illness, aging, death, so that all beings can awaken. And I shared a story this week about how a mountain opened up and the number of bodhisattvas that came flooding out of this mountain were innumerable. And this idea is to challenge the habitual story in our minds that we are anything other than the potentiality of greatness, that we are anything less than magnificent. Many of us here, because of our habit energy, have engaged in regrettable actions. We lie, we steal, we hurt, we use unwise speech, we're unskillful, and we regret that, and we are laden and burdened with the heavy casting of guilt and shame. This practice is all about learning to soften all of that, shed that, to excavate and really come into the trueness of being, the wholeness of being, using that regret as a motivation to be different. Using that regret to motivate us to ease the suffering of ourselves. And by doing so, we put ripples of healing into the world to transform others. This, my friends, is the nature of a bodhisattva. And we are all, each of us, Buddhas and bodhisattvas to be. So maybe we can just smile about that for a minute and breathe. Breathing in, I am a Buddha to be. Breathing out, I am of bodhisattva nature. Breathing in, I have great capacity to heal and transform myself. Breathing out, I have great capacity to bring healing to others. What a beautiful intention to have for this practice today of listening and breathing. I'd like to read a paragraph for you today, written by Thich Nhat Hanh. And I am sharing with you his teachings and perspectives of the Lotus Sutra in his book called Peaceful Action, Open Heart. And I'm sharing some of his words directly, and I'm also sharing some of his lessons, how they have come alive in me. But today I'd like to simply share with you his perspective on what a bodhisattva is, because I'm sure some of you are entertaining a little inner critic that's like, well, Julia, you wouldn't be saying any of these nice things to me if you really knew me, because I'm a terrible, horrible person. And you know, that might be true. We all have the capacity to be terrible, horrible people. And it isn't the whole truth, because terrible, horrible people, right alongside that, right beside that, is their capacity to be deeply compassionate and loving, caring. You can have the worst person in the world, and you can watch them and observe them have great reverence for a flower or a ladybug. We're always a combination of both. And so this is a practice to awaken to the wholeness of being. And it is indeed a practice. This is what Thich Nhat Hanh has to say about bodhisattvas. He writes, bodhisattvas remind us of the essence of our true nature. A bodhisattva can remove the feelings of worthlessness and low self-esteem in people. How can I become a Buddha? How can I attain enlightenment? There is nothing in me except suffering, and I don't know how to get free of my own suffering, much less help others. I am worthless. Many people have these kinds of feelings, and they suffer deeply because of them. There is a bodhisattva called never disparaging bodhisattva. And a never disparaging bodhisattva works to encourage and empower people who feel this way, to remind them that they too have Buddha nature. They too are a wonder of life, and they too can achieve what a Buddha achieves. This is a great message of hope and sada, confidence, trust, faith. That's what sada is, to lead your life from the heart, to soften the mind and its criticism and negativity enough to lead from the heart and trust, have confidence and faith, to risk being hurt, to risk looking at the shadows of ourselves in order to discover its light. This is the practice of the bodhisattva in the action domain. And the action domain is the third domain of the Lotus Sutra. The first two are the historical, physical nature of being, and the second is the infinite nature of being. The third is to put it into a living, breathing action. And it can be as simple as taking a breath and reminding ourselves that we are here because we feel called to discover and rediscover what it means to be whole. A whole human being. Not a holier than thou human being, a whole human being that allows me to accept all of my flaws. And I have so many friends. And if you are harboring any delusion about me, let me just humbly remind you that many, many times I am the ant at your picnic. And I'm laughing at it because it helps me acknowledge that. It helps me acknowledge all the ways I'm a pest and annoying. And it helps me laugh and be light. And that helps me remember, yep, I'm a whole human being. And as much as I'm a pest and I'm annoying, I'm also amazing and spacious and gracious I'm both of those things. I'm all of my shadows, and I'm every bit divine light. And I'm absolutely not unique. I'm just like you. And you are just like me. And we come together in this wise action to practice that, to hear that, to breathe that together. Breathing in, I am all my shadows. Breathing out, and all my light. Breathing in, I am all my shadows. Breathing out, I am all my light. When we can remember this and hold it at the level of the heart, it makes it much easier when we encounter someone that we're afraid of, when we encounter someone that we judge in all the ways we judge. That person's being erratic, that person is talking too much, that person is being dysfunctional, that person is being so impatient. Those judgments, by the way, may be true. Absolutely. We are identifying their shadow, but we are not identifying their truth, because the truth is, in everybody there is a shadow, and in everybody there is a light. So when we judge someone, even when it's true, we're defining them only by their shadow. And that is false. And that creates ripples of suffering. So to heal it, when we see someone who's acting up or acting out, we can identify it and then remember, oh yes, just like me. May I send them ease and peace. May I radiate the warmth of light, and may it find them and warm them and remind them of their light. That's how we heal it. That's how we shift and open that judgment. Breathing in, I am all my shadows. Breathing out, and all my light. My nature is to be a whole human being, a bodhisattva. May I awaken to this with gentility and love, and may I be courageous to share it in a world so desperate to know peace. Taking a moment to bring my hands to my heart, bring my hands to my forehead. And just so you know, friends, when I bow like this, I'm turning to the side so you can see me. Fingertips at the level of the third eye. My thumbs at my mouth. This is a posture that says, may my thoughts be at peace. May my words be at peace. So this is a bow. and then you bring it all down to the level of the heart. May I live a life heart-led in peace. So we'll end our practice in the spirit of the Bodhisattva by bringing forward the name of a great Bodhisattva, Shantideva. Shantideva is famous for having written a very beautiful prayer, the last lines of which are deeply motivating and touching to me. So I'd like to dedicate this practice to all beings everywhere who are experiencing the nature of life and death. May you be present to it with eyes wide open, heart wide open, mind soft and open. For as long as beings exist, and for as long as suffering exists, may I too remain to help dispel the misery of this world. Thank you for your beautiful practice, friends. I hope to see you on Sunday and maybe even Saturday too. Have a great day. Namaste.